Hello, everyone. My name's Julie Teal, and I'm with TTS Company, and I want to welcome you to today's conversation. We've been working on this for weeks, so I'm so excited to bring this topic to you because it's something that I know is a pain point. So the today's session is just as you see here on the slide. You promoted your best technical person. Now what? Now what do you do? And I realize this is a common topic that comes up as I've been working with clients, and especially for small businesses, because it's critical to growing your business that you have um, leaders in place. You're able to take your top people and promote them. At the same time, that creates problems. And so we're going to break that down a bit and jump into why that is and how you can go about better supporting your people. So, because the bottom line, and again, this should resonate with those of you that own your own businesses, is that growth really does require you to replace yourself. Growth increases complexity. You can't do everything yourself forever as much as you would like to. I'm in the process of going through that myself as I'm growing my business, and leadership capacity has to expand. You need more, not less, people that are comfortable in leadership positions in your organization. And again, this is all healthy. These are all good signs. These are the consequences of growing your business, is that you need to find additional people in your business that you can rely on to lead teams and to resolve hard problems. So, and typically, when you're growing your business and you're looking around and deciding who you're going to promote, there's always someone that stands out, and that person has typically, they know the work, clients trust them, the team respects them. In many cases, they're already acting in kind of a leadership capacity with coaching other people or helping them out, and promoting them is usually the right decision. And as we go into this today, I want to be very clear. I'm not against you promoting your top technical person. In fact, we're going to get into this a little deeper. There's 100 reasons why that's the right thing to do. But I also want to explore and be honest about what that often looks like and the struggles that go along with that. And again, everyone goes into these promotions with high expectations, high hopes. It's an exciting time in your business when you start to be able to take some of these top people in your business and promote them. So, and I've experienced it personally. So, I've been in, just to share a little bit about me, I've been in HR for 30 years. That's a long time. And early in my career, I spent years and years before I was a manager helping other leaders manage. So I would coach a leader on how to have a performance conversation. I would coach a leader on how to address a poor performer. I would coach them how to set goals. And it's one thing to know what to do, which is what I was able to do early in my career. It is completely different when you're the person in the seat that has to have that hard conversation, or is really struggling to know how to better support a high performer on your team and retain them for the long run. So I really, really feel for leaders, because I've had to go through every bit of this myself. So everything I'm about to share with you, and the mistakes that I'm going to share with you, I have made myself. And so again, I'm coming at this with my own personal experience, in addition to all these decades of helping leaders through these transitions. So if you thought it was going to be easy and were surprised, I did too. So you're not alone. So, and that's one of the reasons why I care so deeply about trying to make this transition a little bit easier for everyone involved. And, a lot of you that are dialing in today are in a technical profession. So you're an engineering firm, you're an IT firm, you're cybersecurity, your software development, your accounting, your financial wealth management. I mean, there's so many technical businesses out there that, again, those are the ones often that I'm in the process of working with or supporting. And I think it is harder to put someone into leadership in these types of industries, just because the things I've got listed here, anything that goes wrong affects the client. And the founders tend to stay pretty close to delivery for that reason, because again, it's their baby. And again, if something technically goes wrong, it can have bigger consequences for clients. So these mistakes that are made as someone steps into leadership for the first time, it often feels really high risk. So I just want to acknowledge that as we go into this, because I do think the barriers to really handing work over to a new manager or making that transition fully proceed are just, there's more barriers when you're in a technical business. So again, let's look a little bit then. That was a little bit of the setup. So in today's session, these are the things we're going to be covering. We're going to be talking at a deeper level about why the transition is so difficult. First of all, I think we just have to acknowledge that, own that, and I'm sure you'll relate as we go through the reasons why this is hard. We're going to talk then about common mistakes that new managers make. And again, I'm sure you'll recognize those. And those, again, are things that I did myself as I was learning how to become a manager, and I think are very relatable. And then for owners and founders. So I think this is the other pain point that we often don't explore, is the fact that founders get pulled back in. And again, when they're trying to hand off, and it's this really kind of double pull that's happening. You want the work to get done, yet you want to develop your leader, and that is a hard position to be in. So owners and founders go through quite a transition too when they promote managers, that we just need to acknowledge and discuss. And then at the end, we'll give you some practical points on how you can better support managers more effectively. And again, this is designed to talk about new managers, but let's be honest, any manager would benefit from this discussion, because management is a constant learning process, whether you've been doing it for a long time or not. And again, I just think these are targeted for new managers, but I think you'll find, even if you have some management experience, that you'll relate with these topics. So before we go further, I just want to introduce myself again. Julie Teal. I'm the CEO and founder of the TTS company. I've spent more than 30 years in HR leadership and people strategy work. A big part of the work I do today is helping growing companies build leadership capacity and stronger people practices so they actually become sustainable. So the way that the organization runs can run on its own, without the founder or owner getting constantly pulled back in. And one of the points of passion that's really brought me to this topic is that I have had conversations with many owners of businesses, and I have heard more than once that owner is concerned about growing their business because of the complexities of both promoting new managers and adding more people to their teams, which for me, I just hate that any business would not grow because of those concerns. And so I'm really on a mission to build organizations where leadership, delegation, and growth become more sustainable over time, not harder. I don't want growth to feel heavy. And again, when leaders get stuck carrying everything themselves, growth stops feeling exciting and starts feeling exhausting. So let's prevent that. So that's a lot of the work I do today. And again, I'm excited to share with you a portion of that work today through this presentation. So let's talk about those top performers. There are many common characteristics. So if you're on the live stream now, my question to you is, read through these as I'm sharing a little bit, and I'd love you to put in the chat how many of these characteristics describe that person, that top performer that came to mind. So, and again, when I think about how important these top performers become to your business and to your growth, because clients trust them, teams rely on them, they know how things work. In many cases, they've been with you since the beginning. They have some longevity with the company, they've demonstrated their loyalty, and they've helped build the business alongside of you in those long hours. And because of that, they start to feel like, again, they're not, I resist a little bit. They're kind of like an extension of your family, or they're friends that feel like family as you're growing your business. And because of that, you have a genuine desire to do right by them and to give them more opportunities, as you should. And again, there's so many good reasons to promote that top performer, not only around like we're talking about there, to give them bigger impact, more customer collaboration. So retention, business growth, giving them more income, right? I mean, it's like those are all reasons why it's really a good idea to promote your top technical people. But let's take a step back then. But what's often underestimated is not the person. The person is the right person. The transition into management is the piece that often gets missed. So, because the job that they're stepping from and into the new role is fundamentally different than what they've been doing previously. So, it's not harder necessarily, it's just very different. And I think most organizations fail to fully acknowledge that shift when someone moves into management. And we celebrate the promotion without fully preparing the person for how their role is about to dramatically change. So, as you look at that, then, so there are common symptoms, there are common predictable patterns when someone makes this move. And the patterns aren't caused by bad intentions or bad people, but these are just very common things that happen when you take someone from a technical role into a leadership role. So, and a few of these that you've got here. So, feedback gets delayed, issues escalate, delegation never happens, and the founder gets pulled back in commonly. The manager gets burned out, and oftentimes the team is underdeveloped. And that can eventually, if it's unaddressed, lead to people leaving the team. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a deep dive into a few of these, two of these, in fact, and just go a little bit deeper into a couple and explore these further to talk about what's happening and a little bit about why. So, the first one, the first deep dive we're going to do into this idea of your technical person keeps doing the work all themselves. So, I mean, this is the most common. And honestly, it makes complete sense. They love the work, they're good at it, they have confidence in that area, it feels productive. And in many cases, it feels really more emotionally safe for that new leader to stay in the work than to step into some of the new types of conversations and leadership role that they have. And so they end up doing two jobs at once. They're full-time technical expert and full-time people leader. And let's be honest, most leaders are working leaders. So they're always going to have a bit of the work that they're doing themselves, but they can't keep doing two full-time jobs. The job has to change. And eventually that does become unsustainable. So there is a huge hidden cost to when these new leaders say, I'll just do it myself. And there's a cost for the manager, which we talked to. Eventually, that's going to lead to burnout and constant overload. For the team, that means that when the manager's stepping in to do the work rather than handing it off, they're not developing the team. And so there's less ownership, less, and there's more dependence on the manager. And for the owner, in many cases, they can't delegate as much to that manager because they've got a full workload trying to do too many jobs and doing the work for the team. So let's then jump into the next piece. So the other piece of this, and it's related to this first one, is when difficult people issues will escalate to the owner. So, and again, it's a major pattern for difficult people issues start rooting back to the owner or the founder. And this is because feedback, again, as we talked about, it's emotionally safe for that new manager to stay in the work they know and are confident in doing. To step into something different feels risky. They often don't know what to say. They're a little bit overwhelmed when an employee comes to them with an emotional issue. They're afraid to damage relationships. They don't feel confident. And so instead of handling the issue directly, they come to you as the owner or founder with questions. Now, on one hand, coming with questions is great. They should come with questions. But in many cases, they end up handing the issue to the owner to solve rather than owning it themselves. And again, it's not bad behavior. It's predictable, and it's based on fear and uncertainty of not knowing how to handle these types of issues. And when that happens, this is a nice representation. We could call it the rescue loop. We could call it the escalation loop. There's a couple ways that you can describe this, but when the manager hesitates to handle an issue, the owner will often step in, and then issues are escalated. The owners becomes more overloaded, so that increases. The manager's confidence, unfortunately, when the owner is handling these issues, decreases. And then it just keeps on going again, where the next tough issue is coming to the owner, and it actually trains employees in a lot of ways to skip talking to the manager and keep bringing things directly to the owner. So it really, the founder never fully exits that middle of the organization. The manager never develops confidence, and employees just get confused about where to go to solve issues. So the issue isn't that the founder's helping, because there will be issues the founder needs to step into. The issue is that everyone expected that promotion to solve the problem, but the promotion does not automatically create leadership capability. So it just doesn't. Again, it's kind of like throwing people in the deep end of the pool. They don't necessarily know what to do naturally. It's not always intuitive how to handle management issues, especially how do you handle an upset employee? That's hard to know what to do without some coaching and advice. And the bottom line of this is that the job itself of going into a manager role has changed more than anyone actually acknowledged. So what's underestimated is how fundamentally different the job is. And this is a slide that compares the two, because the technical job rewarded expertise, responsiveness, personal output, solving the problems yourself, being the person with the answers. That's what that technical person has been rewarded for their entire career up to this point. And suddenly you're flipping it on its head. And that manager job requires delegation, different skill, coaching, accountability, developing other people, and creating results through a team, which is fundamentally different in the skills and approach to getting the work done. So the work is getting done differently than it had been when that technical person was managing their own world. Suddenly their world is bigger with multiple people, and they have to figure out how to get work done through other people. And that mindset shift, I think, is probably the biggest piece to stop getting your rewards from fixing, solving, doing, and starting to get your rewards through training someone else to get good results. Very different. And it's like you have to look for your joy in the job in a different place. And that it's a very different emotional experience for people to walk in and look at their role as a leader versus as the fixer and doer. So that shift is enormous. And again, if that shift never happens, the leaders often stay pulled back towards the technical work because that's where they feel the most comfortable and confident. It's like we have to find ways to help people with confidence step into being uncomfortable in a way they haven't in the past. Now, not only does the mindset shift for that manager, but the owner's job has changed as well. What often is missed is that the founder or owner is going through the same leadership transition too, because they're going from actually getting work done through the team to getting work done through that manager and handing I want this result to the manager and having them figure out how to get it done instead of getting it done themselves. So they stop being the direct owner of every decision, because authority has to be handed off to that manager in order for them to be effective. And that often is a little bit of a struggle for most owners and founders to hand that off, because it feels risky. You have to hand off standards and quality in addition to the work, because speed matters, quality matters, especially in technically driven industries. So this level of delegation feels really uncomfortable at first. And again, those senior leaders have to get rewards out of building capability in their team versus dictating how the work's going to get done. So I mean, I don't want to walk by the fact that this is hard for the owner as well to let go and to see that leader struggle and learn how to get things done. So we've talked a lot about the problems. So let's talk a bit about what actually helps. So so you're in this situation. You've got a new manager or considering promoting someone into a new leadership role, and um, again, the issue here is not lack of effort. Usually, in many cases, as you know, your top performer is going to work and work and work until they get the job done. And in many cases, they're getting burnt out. So we don't want, again, this is not an issue of effort. Usually, what's lacking is support, repetition, feedback, and confidence. And leadership capability is built over time. It's not a one and done effort. So, experience and coaching are critical as a leader is making that transition. So, let's start with one major skill. And again, this is where I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks on what to do, either if you're promoting someone in a new job or considering, again, stepping into learning how to delegate. So delegation sounds simple until you actually try and do it. Again, it's one of those things we all intellectually agree with, and then when you try to do it, it's a much different experience. So and I don't know about you, but I have even recently handed work off to someone, delegated something, and realized when I got the work product back, they did exactly what I asked, but what I asked was not giving enough detail. I didn't explain it well enough. So oftentimes you need some iteration on delegation in order to learn how to do it well yourself. So delegation at its core is really a communication and coaching skill. You have to be able to make sure share expectations. Oftentimes, you have assumptions living in your head that you don't even realize that you have to learn how to identify and communicate. You can't rescue someone too early when they're struggling with something you've delegated. You're trying to give them the experience of doing the work. So you have to find a way to hold back while they're learning. And you have to be comfortable if someone's on a slower learning curve as they're learning. And so the best place to start is what I call the 70% rule. So as you're thinking about handing work off to a manager, or if you're a manager thinking about handing work off to a new employee, think about work that's you believe that person can do maybe 70% as well as you right now. So, and if you, it even could be a helpful exercise to sit down and say, this is all the work I want to delegate. Where is this person most ready, the highest percentage that they can be successful in the work? And that's, again, a judgment call, but it gives you the best place to start. Don't start with the hardest work. Start with the work that that person is most likely to be successful at. So again, the goal is not immediate perfection. The goal is building their capability over time. So, and then when you delegate, my rule of thumb, and this is a helpful model to keep in mind, is the tell, show, do model. So, what this means is first you tell them what you want them to do. So, you clarify expectations and outcomes. So you describe the work. And then the next thing you do is you show them how to do the work. So, you model it. So, if that's you're handing off a client account, you start bringing that employee with you to that client account, and you have the conversations together so they can see you model what you told them you do. So they can see it happen. So, and again, there's a lot of learning theories on this, but people need to hear and see in many cases in order to really, really understand and learn how to do something new. And then the final step is having them do the work. So if in this case of a client account that I mentioned, then they start taking the lead in the account while you're watching and observing. And so you're there to help coach afterwards and say, okay, I loved how you handled that question. Here's a different way to handle that question. And here's how I'd have you handle a little bit differently next time, because you were there before you fully step away. So tell them, show them, do it with them, and then have them do it alone. So that model is critical for really helping people move forward. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is they go from telling to doing. They skip show. And show ends up being really critical for helping someone build the confidence to actually do the work on their own and not have it essentially bounce back to you because of the escalation issues that we talked about previously. Because this is really a way to transfer ownership. So the other thing that is a critical skill to teach and help someone learn is feedback and coaching conversations. And typically, the biggest problem with a technical person is they just never had experience with having a giving feedback or coaching because they've never had to, they don't know what to say. They're concerned about damaging relationships. They're uncertain how hard to push and where and when. They don't want it to escalate. They do want to handle it themselves. And they just don't lack the confidence. They don't know how to handle the conflict and don't have the confidence to know what to do. And again, unfortunately, this is where new leaders often avoid conversations longer than they should. And so if you go back to what we just talked about, which is as an owner to tell, show, and do. So the first few times employee issues come up and your leader talks to you about them, have them come along with you as you resolve the issue. So again, same model, different topic, but for that employee issue, tell them, first of all, how you're going to handle it and why, and the things that you ask and consider and how you approach it. Show them. So handle the issue with that manager with you and have them see you do it. And then have them do it with you in the room. And then eventually they can handle it without you in the room. So same model, but new skill. And again, one of the things that I don't want to lose in this is that, we've talked about the struggle of developing people and handling, helping develop a new manager, but it's incredibly rewarding too. And I will tell you from my own experience, taking the time to really develop a new leader has incredible rewards. It's amazing to see someone go from not knowing how to handle a situation to handling with confidence to, over time, handling it better than I ever did. I mean, I have seen leaders I've put into place excel far beyond handling issues the way I did. So again, you're trying to build teams with people around you that are lifting you up as well. And again, done right, you end up with leaders and managers in place that are helping lift the bar for everyone involved, you included. And so, again, what changes when managers have support? Confidence grows. They stop avoiding conversations. They delegate confidently, which all of this leads to better results. For founders and owners, you actually get fewer escalations. You get your time freed up to really focus on what I call leadership leverage. So you're able to then work on new parts of the business, your vision for the future, landing new clients. You can do that because you're confident your managers can handle the rest. They're handling the business while you work on the other parts that you feel most passionate about. And for the teams even, so the managers of the teams, those teams actually get developed and they develop stronger skills. They're able to handle things more themselves as well. So you start seeing the benefits trickle down throughout the whole organization when managers actually have support. So one of the things that reasons I do this is I'm trying to find ways to provide better support to leaders. So this, I'm introducing a new offer that I have, which is called the Vault. And I created this because I have seen so many managers struggle. And frankly, we talked about how you can develop your team, but the truth is most owners and founders just don't have the time to invest the amount of effort that they believe is necessary to really move the needle. And I think that the most effective combination of to develop new leaders is some combination of training and support. And again, you can do that internally. And then I've also seen a lot of leaders send new managers or their managers to external training programs. And again, those are great, but they can be very expensive and they require your leaders to be out of the office for a significant period of time. And so I created something called the Vault, which I'm introducing today, which really provides practical, ongoing leadership support in a way that's practical and accessible for your workload and the real world that we live in today. So So what's inside the Vault? The Vault is a online leadership community that's providing regular training and development. So all the features you see here, so leadership development resources, new manager guidance, we cover real world topics. And in fact, people can submit their questions or topics, and then we cover that in our Q&A that we do every month. There's a whole library of practical tools. So if you have a question about, how do I interview for technical skills? We've got a resource for that. If you've got a question on just to build more on recruiting, like what are questions I can't ask? We've got a resource for that. So, and then again, it's a peer learning community where, again, I'm engaged in the community. I'm providing leadership development like this on an ongoing basis. But again, people are learning from each other as well. And what's exciting is right now it's an online resource that I'm in the application process for approval in the App Store. So eventually it will be something, hopefully in the next month, that will be available on your iPhone or either type of phone. So anyway, really exciting. And that's what this is. And managers that go into this can learn delegation, they can learn accountability, they can learn how to handle difficult conversations, they can learn leadership mindset. So we even spend time on mindset because it's skills and mindset that's critical. So, and then we're even building out for new managers a specific program that you can put your new managers in that has a similar type of format that creates a community that's helping you develop your skills. And then on this webinar, so for those of you that are either on the webinar today or get the recording later, please scan this QR code. It's a connection to my calendar. And what I'd like to give you is complimentary 60-day access to the Vault. The Vault normally is $79 a month. So that's the ongoing price after that. But I want to give you a head start, give you a good 60 days of getting in the system to see what you think. And I'd love to have a conversation with you to talk to you a little bit about your management challenges, any delegation concerns, what parts of this conversation really resonated with you. And then what I do with that is I'm able to customize programs over the next 60 days that will allow you to get some of those questions or most difficult questions answered within the Vault. So please scan this code. It's going to come back at the end, but I wanted to be sure that anyone that spends time on this webinar has access to the Vault and can check it out as we get ready to launch. Now it's launching in July, so we have a little bit of time to get that set up for you. So final thoughts. Your promotion was never a mistake. It's just you need to again, support your managers through this process, and growth becomes much more sustainable when managers stop feeling alone and founders stop carrying everything themselves and really do replace themselves. So thank you for being on this webinar. Thank you for joining me. And again, this is the QR code. If you'd like to learn more about the Vault and to get that free 60-day access, please scan this, schedule a time with me, and I'll look forward to talking to you. We're building our wait list. You'll start to see more and more on my LinkedIn pages around the Vault and how to get involved and just building the excitement. And I'd love for you to be part of it. Thank you.